So welcome back, everyone, to the Man Within, Masculine Stories, Women Listening. I'm Tatiana.
I'm Aurelia.
And we are the Women Listening. Today we have a special guest, a super special guest, Bobby Figueroa, who has a special place in my heart. So glad to have you here. So Bobby Figueroa is the guy you don't want to be on the wrong side of, but the guy you want on your side. He is a caraholic. He restores, builds, and tinkers with old Cadillacs and more. He's also quite the animal whisperer, born into pigeon flying. He fought it for many years and now has 2 coops, as well as some dogs and a bunny. He grew up in Brooklyn in an era where gangsters were glorified and always gravitated towards the life. He's got 1,000,001 stories, some that still have a statute of limitations, so they can't be talked about yet. I can attest to all of this, as he has sent me letters from jail, aka on the job up north, since I am his stepdaughter. And I've known him for my entire life. So welcome to the podcast, Bob.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Bob. We are so excited to talk to you. I particularly am excited about some of these stories that I've heard secondhand. So I wanted to start with the question that we ask all of our guests, which is, can you describe a breakthrough moment or chapter that changed how you approach your life as a man, emotionally, relationally, or spiritually?
Definitely can. As it was stated in the intro, I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in a lifestyle that was glorified with gangsters and criminality, for the lack of a better word. I guess your credit was how tough you were in the streets or how crazy you were in the streets. The crazy thing was I was an extremely smart kid. In the 4th grade, my parents were called to school, and I thought it was because I was in trouble. And come to find out that I had scored number 2 in the reading, the writing, comprehensive in all of New York State. And here I was thinking I was in trouble. In 7th grade, I was going to be skipped to 9th grade because I was just that smart, always in, honor roll, honor society. They called it SP in Brooklyn. It was a special program for, I guess gifted kids, gifted as far as smart, but the streets called. And I answered, full-fledged. I've always worked since I'm 11 years old, but the easy money just took it just took a front seat. You know what I mean? And where I grew up, it was glorified to be a tough guy, to be a gangster, to be a connected guy, to be a guy that you had good friends. And my thing was cars, stealing them, chopping them, just anything with cars. In 1986, I was brought to a dead halt. I was 20 years old, and he got locked up for 46 stolen cars. I spent a lot of time on Rikers Island fighting the case, and when they gave me my time, I wound up doing 5 years. I was a kid, 20 to 25. I was in jail, and I was away with some of the roughest, some of the toughest people, and some of the best people I've ever met in my life. But when they slammed that door closed, and I knew I wasn't going home, that was pretty much the time of my life where I realized that I'm not invincible. I'm not going to get away with a million things. And it's going to come to a grinding halt. So I did my 5 years. I got a college education while I was away. People say, how'd you do it? I had the best time of my life when I was in jail. And I know this sounds crazy because I had to make the best of it. And I felt that there was a huge change that came in my life. I wasn't going back to that street stuff. I mean, I got out. I pretty much led a Joe citizen life, but it kind of, I had my fractions of the law, so to speak, after that, but nothing like it was before I went away. So that was definitely a pivotal time in my life when I realized that I'm not made of stone. I'm not made of steel. And you know what? Hey, I didn't have anything to prove to anybody. And I sat in that cell by myself for 5 years, knowing that, you know what? I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. It's too late, though. I had 5 years of my life, My friends were going to Cancun. They were going to Jamaica. They were going here. They're going there. And I was in a 6x9 cell. So I would say, yeah, that was definitely a huge pivotal point in my life. So.
Thanks for sharing all that. What stood out to me when you were talking was saying, you made the best of it and like you were going to make the best of it. And I'm curious how you came to that decision, because you don't necessarily have to do that, right?
No. Tatiana, you know my energy. I'm full on all the time. I'm always going. My mind is racing. I'm always doing something. And when you have to stop and they tell you what time you're gonna eat, what time you're gonna go to sleep, they tell you when you're gonna be able to go in the bathroom because they issue you toilet paper. It breaks you down as a human being, but you can either succumb to it or you can. I don't know. I always was a survivor. I had to make the best of it. I had no choice because the alternate side of it was just wind up doing something stupid, getting more time, or just going crazy. So I had no choice. I had to make the best of it. So that's what I did.
I would imagine that in in that situation, you do have those two options, which is, what Tatiana was saying. You don't have to decide to change your outlook. But I'm sure there are other men that you were with that were definitely of that idea that you just let it break you, right? The situation can either build you up or it can break you down.
I have a picture that I have to find it somewhere in one of my one of my things where I keep pictures. It's in the gym in Arthur Kill Prison. There's five guys. There's Sal Cardillo, Dean Lombardo, there's Philly Brown, Larry Fiorenza, and me. Of the five guys, I'm the only one left. So you're 100% right. You could choose or just do the time and just like make it a hiccup in your life, or you could it could change you for the better, or it could just be another obstacle in the way. All these guys, and these were all good guys. I didn't hang out with for lack of a better word, shit in jail. I hung out with guys that had, little brains with them, you know what I mean? A little camaraderie, and they weren't just thugs, but who had a drug problem, who got caught up in the gangster life again, and they got killed. Of those five guys, I'm the only guy, left. There's one guy, Dean, that's still alive, but he's pretty much, he's strung out on drugs. And this is shit 30 years later, 35 years later, and he's still on the same path. So yeah, you can just go down the road that they're giving you, or you can make your own path. You know what I mean? And I decided that I wasn't going to go back. I mean, I had some stints after that, but it was for lack of better judgment. You know what I mean?
So it sounds too like a certain level of an identity shift, right? Because you're saying you were raised in such a space of your idols were these gangsters and these guys. So what was your identity shifting into?
A worker. I just wanted to do better for myself. And I mean, listen, you know as well as anybody, I took my addiction to the streets and just put it to work. And my addiction is still the same. I work 7 days a week around the clock. It's a better alternative, but it's not a cure. I'm still the same guy. I'm just not stealing cars. I'm building cars. I'm buying cars. I still have the same addiction. You know what I mean? I love the deal. Back then it was the get over. Now I just work for the art of the deal. So it's the same shit, just a different wee pair, so to speak. I'm not in the street. Now I'm just, I 7 days a week, night and day, all I think about is work. Where before that, all I thought about was getting over, stealing cars, going to the best clubs, hanging out with the gangsters. Now I just switched it over to, I have that personality. It's good, it's bad.
Did everyone in your, because I know you've got some siblings, did you all have that mentality or is it more just you?
Me, my siblings were all workers, every one of us. My father put good work ethic into us. There's not a Figueroa that you cannot work. You're never going to outwork a Figueroa, including my brother who passed, my brother here with me, my sisters, we're all workers. I just go to the extreme. They can take a day off and relax. They know how to, sit down and watch TV. They have a balance. I'm just focused on whatever I do. I just go straight ahead and I don't stop. I don't know the word no, and I just keep going. It's good and it's bad. It has its ups, it has its downs. It's caused a lot of relationship problems. It is what it is. I am who I am, and my brother Rich, he's here with me on the weekends. I'm sure he'd rather relax once in a while, but I need the help, and he helps me out because he's my brother and he loves me. But my work ethic is definitely insane. It's not even funny,
Do you have a sense of where that's come from? If
from being locked up. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was just talking to somebody recently in my house. I have a big bedroom and a small bedroom, and I always stay in the small bedroom. I never stay in the big bedroom. And I didn't realize that until I was speaking to a friend of mine who was away for 25 years. And we're talking this and that. And we said, something. I said, yeah, I stay in the small bedroom. He said, you know what that's about, right? I said, no, because that's from jail. You feel safe in a small place. And I didn't realize it till he said that. That just, it was like, wow. And that was 35 years ago that I was away. You know what I mean? But it's true. It's certain things. I still, anytime I sit in a restaurant, I have to sit with my face to the door. I have to be able to see, there's certain things that I'm not going to say are scars. Well, maybe they are the scars and lessons of life that I will never. And it was only 5 years, but it was a super impactful 5 years of my life. It was my, the years, my formative years, 20 to 25. Guys are going out, having a great time, starting families. And in the joint where at any moment you could die. That's not metaphorical. That's real. You know what I mean? So it definitely had an impact. It gave me great work ethic because I feel like I don't want to squander not a minute. You know what I mean? I want to make every day count. And I do. I try to at least. So good, bad. I don't know. Up, down, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So, Bob, I had a question and kind of going back a little bit to what you said about how you work 7 days a week, and you were kind of talking about trading one addiction for another, in terms of shifting from the life that you had before to the one after. You're still working with cars, and you're still very much in the grind, as you call it. But I'm wondering, especially as it relates to other men who believe that the grind is real, it is life, and what at what point do we talk about rest and the value of rest? And I don't mean just to go to sleep. I mean, to take a break from the routine and step away and do something completely different.
The issue that comes in with that, not an issue, but it was a couple of years back. Tatiana called me. It was on Father's Day, and she'll remember it. She called me. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. It was a Sunday, Father's Day, and she said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm down at the shop." She goes, "What are you doing? It's Father's Day. You're supposed to do what you love." And she had to stop herself. I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. So I don't know that that's the right question for me, only because I don't work a day in my life. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure that I should be relaxing and this and that. When we went to Mexico recently on for a wedding for Gianna, I like when I get into relaxation mode, then I'm all about it. But it's getting there that's the hard part for me. I know it's valuable, and I know you should have it, but it's hard for me to get there because I just love what I do so much. I couldn't wait to get up this morning to come here to go to, like start with this bay and do what I'm doing and this and that. And then when I'm buying a car, I'm all about getting it. So it's a hire for me, and it's not work. That's the thing. I don't work a day in my life. When I go up and I'll do some construction jobs to feed my habits, so to speak, the cars and the pigeons, and I'll do some construction jobs. And when I got to go on those jobs, that's work. Then you could ask me, I'd take a vacation in a heartbeat off those. But when I come to the shop, it's just a different, I just love what I do. I'm emphatic about what I do. I love coming here. I love working on cars. I'm sitting on the other side. I'm looking at this Riviera. And to me, it's like, that's like a vacation to me. That's as happy as seeing a sunset. If that makes any sense. It's a sickness, I know, but I'm okay with it. I'm all right with it.
Well, you're kind of pointing to something that, yeah, if you were really following what you want to do and what you love, while you'll say you could probably rest a little bit more, sleep a little bit more, et cetera, et cetera. If it's towards something that you really love, it's not the same thing as grinding
Fine.
on a job that is taking more from you than
That's
it's
what I
giving.
said. If I had to go I do the construction. If I had to go on the roof every day, I'd be taking every Saturday and Sunday off. And I'd probably come and work on cars. That's what I probably do. But that would be a day off for me. Do you know what I mean? I just don't, I absolutely love what I do. I just, to me, I don't get tired. I get energized when I start working on something I love. It's like an artist you think Michelangelo took any days off? He couldn't wait to get back to that ceiling. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I'm no Michelangelo, but you know what I mean?
Oh, you're right. I agree with you. And I know that when I get into a project that I'm like, if I'm doing a design project and I'm just having a blast, yeah, like 6 hours go by really fast.
Sleep is not an option at that point. I mean, I just love it. I listen. I get tired and I rest. I let my body rest or whatever. But I'm always, I want to get back to what I'm doing because again, if it sucked, I wouldn't be here, on a Sunday. But I love it. So to me, it's not work. I sometimes, I honestly, it's crazy. I feel like a kid. Like sometimes I'll come to the shop and there's guys here. And I'm like, can't believe they're working for me. Holy shit, you know what I mean? Like this is supposed to be fun, you know what I mean? Well, how do I have people working for me? You know what I mean? And sometimes I cannot actually believe it's real. I'll just come in my yard and I'll look around. I'll be like, I'll just be floored. Like, this is mine. I did this. You know what I mean? I take a step back. And to me, that's not work. It's not even close to work. You know what I mean? That's just happiness. I don't know what else to say. No other way to put it. Like SpongeBob says, I'm ready. I'm ready. You know,
So I want to ask you about I hear your true passion for cars, and that's obvious, really, really comes through. But I also know that you have a connection to other living things, not just inanimate objects. I know you have a real bond with animals. Can you share a little bit more about where that comes from?
I always loved animals. I always loved dogs. I wanted to be a veterinarian actually when I was a kid. I could have probably been a veterinarian. I had the brains for it. Again, the streets grabbed me and I was the end of veterinarian. I just love animals. I've always had a connection with dogs, bigger dogs always. I don't know, I guess it's the macho thing. But I love anything. I got sparrows now that are picking up. They were actually I started feeding the sparrows outside the shop. And I think they're the greatest thing on earth when I pull up and they're all chirping and this and that, just literally coming on my car now. I just love animals. I always, if I can, I'll take care of something that can't take care of itself. And I mean, I'll literally, if I see somebody hitting a dog or something like that, I'll go back to jail for something like that because they can't protect themselves like that. We kind of, we domesticated them and now, we have to take care of them. And I guess I just love animals, dogs. Pigeons, fought the pigeons for a lot of years, but here we are. I was just up in my coop and at the shop. And I mean, it's a lot of work, a lot of stress, but again, I love it. It's something I love. When I go in the coop, I have a great time. I love just sitting there with the birds, watching them. My father was one of the best flies in the world, couldn't read or write, barely spoke English. But professional men would come to my father for advice on pigeons because if there's one thing my father knew, it was pigeons, and the other thing was roofing. And I fought it for 30 years. I didn't want to get involved with the pigeons. And here I am. Now I have a coop at the house and I have a coop at the shop. And it's a lot of work, but I love animals. I don't know. I would have a farm if I could. I really would. When I was in jail, I had a pigeon coop. I was working on the farm. I had a pet raccoon and I had a pigeon coop. Yeah, I guess animals are love animals. I love cars. And I could deal with my brother Richie once in a while.
Your dad, how did he get into the birds?
Well, Daddy had pigeons to Puerto Rico, right? When he was, no, Snow, when he came to East New York, when I wasn't even born yet. It was, pigeon flying is big in Puerto Rico. I don't know if they had them because they were farmers over there. And when they came over, my grandfather came with 18 kids. I mean, you're talking about a lot of kids. My father gravitated towards the streets, but he was a worker. And he hooked up with a couple of the guys from East New York, and they were pigeon flyers before I was born. And my father got into it, and it was a passion. It was my father's life. My father was a good provider. My father was a great man. He never threw the baseball with us or anything like that. But if you wanted to go hang out in the pigeon coop, then you were his best friend. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but his pigeons were you raising 4 kids on you know what I mean, middle class income. It was tough. But he had his pigeons, you know what I mean? And that's what kind of gave me sanity. Because we were good kids. We were good kids. So, but it was still his pigeons gave me sanity. I guess they give me my sanity too. I have a crazy day and shit's going awry. I go up to the coop and I sit there and watch the birds and it just calms me down.
Why do you think that is?
Because they don't know. They can't bullshit to you. They just can't bullshit to you. Dogs don't bullshit. They can't lie to you. Listen, if you leave a dog and you scold him and you throw him in his cage and you lock the cage and you come home, he goes to sleep for 10 minutes and gets out and he forgets everything and loves you all over again. He holds no grudges. He won't lie to you. And he's your best friend. Oh, if people are like that, I think I get along with people more. Choose animals over people every day. I mean, you know that. I'd rather hang out with my dogs than hang out with some people. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. It's the lack of bullshit. They love you no matter what. They wake up loving you. They love you. Go to sleep. They love you. They love you. When you come home, they're happy to see you. whether you're gone for 5 minutes or 5 hours. They lose their
Mhm.
mind.
But another piece of like what you've been saying overall is it's a lot of work to have a coop. It's a lot of work. Like you train your dogs really well, and you've had many dogs over many years. And, as someone who's been around puppies now, like I can recognize how much work you've put in to get your dogs to be able to be off leash, to listen to your commands, to live their pretty cool life with you. So I hear your emotional connection of like I enjoy their authenticity. It's also you're taking on so much responsibility.
But it's pretty badass when you have two Rottweilers sitting in front of your house on your stoop, and a guy walks by with a dog that's barking like crazy, and he asks you to keep your dog's man. And I look at him like, are you kidding me? They're both sitting there looking at the dog in the street like he's an asshole. That's a proud moment for me. Yeah, I'm bragging a little. Yeah, I take it. You know what I mean? I got 300 pounds of Rottweiler sitting on my stoop, and they're sitting there looking at the dog barking like he's a dummy. And I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, I mean, my dogs, there was a status symbol to me too. I don't have poodles. You know what I mean? You know what I have, I always have Rottweilers. I always have.
But you have a bunny.
Oh, I'm going to talk about the bunny on the podcast. Oh, right. You said there was stuff that was off limits. The bunny's off limits. All right. We crossed the line on the fucking. We crossed the line on the bunny, yummy. That's it. The line is the bunny. Listen, I saved her too. They were going to eat her. So I saved her, and I didn't know they lived this long. Nobody told me bunnies lived this long. But here we are. Bugsy's alive and well.
Long live Bugsy.
Oh, please don't. That's too much fun. I mean, I love her, but Jesus, this rabbit just don't stop. All she does is eat and shit. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
That's it.
You said something that made me think a little bit and reflect on what you said earlier about your experience in prison. Because you mentioned your relationship, say, with dogs, and you said, like, you can lock up a dog, it'll take a nap, and 5 minutes later, it loves you again. And I was thinking about how, in your case, when they shut those doors, those bars, it's like something in you changed. It seemed like forever. And certainly, with dogs and with animals in general, there's a level of trust that can be easily regained. But with humans, not so much. And it feels like you were still there. Maybe there's still a part of you that still carries that.
Oh yeah, it was
That wants-
definitely. It scarred me. It definitely scarred me. It changed me. It made me a better person. It saved me. I said I was arrested. I was rescued, not arrested, because I would have wound up in the trunk of some gangster's car. I really thought who I was. I saw the worst of the worst. I saw guys get killed in there, and I saw the worst of the worst. It makes you appreciate your freedom, but it also it puts this like, I don't know, you get this whole distrust for humanity when you see these, because there's evil people in there. That's the bottom line. There's just evil people that deserve to be there for the rest of their lives. The fact that they breathe the same air as us, I can't understand how one human being can just, like cut another human being literally up. Like, what is that? And then there's guys in there that I felt shouldn't have been in there. There was one guy that I was in there with. He was, matter of fact, Tatiana's aunt knows the story. He was drag racing on the Hempstead Turnpike out here in Long Island, and a wedding limo cut in front of him. The wedding limo driver was wrong, and he wound up killing 3 people. His Grand National went through that limo and killed 3 people. That kid didn't speak. The judge gave him 5 years. I think that's a travesty. It was an accident. Was it, yeah, was he drag racing? Yeah, but he didn't set out to kill nobody. And then you got guys that are in there. By the way, that guy didn't speak one word. I knew him for 3 years. I was with him in the joint. He didn't speak one word. I thought he was a mute for a while. He was just so devastated by what he did. And this was a nerd, for lack of a better word. How they put him in there never made sense to me. And then you get guys that are going out stabbing people left and right and getting 2 years. And they're maliciously trying to hurt somebody. The system is broken. It didn't make sense to me, I've learned, or I have, this amazing distrust for humans in general. If I don't have the right vibe or I got the wrong feeling about you, I don't mince words. I'll let you know right away, and I'll just step away. Because at this point in my life, an altercation is not worth it anymore. I'd rather just step away from people. And I find that in general, like I guess from being in jail, I can eye up a situation and know whether I'm comfortable or uncomfortable in it almost immediately. And I'll step away from it before, you know what I mean? I just don't want the aggravation anymore. When it comes to Yeah, it definitely there's big changes that happen from that. Yeah. I didn't realize I still live it. And this was quite some time. I was 25. I'm 59 now. That was 24 years ago. You know, I still, it's a scar, but it's also a lesson. So you got to pick which side of the coin you want to be on that day. So,
I mean, how has that translated for you in your relationships with others? You know, this distrust of humanity. I'm sure that has made it
when it
more challenging.
definitely when it comes to a male relationship, I find in my life that I'm a bigger guy. I'm a big guy, and I have more problems with big guys than anything. And it's always this macho bravado thing that's so not necessary. You know what I mean? Like they feel that they got to flail their chest and if I feel like I'm in that situation, I don't even want to be involved. I just step away. I can sense bullshit from a mile away. I guess that's from being, you know what I mean, game, sort of, for lack of a better word. If somebody's trying to game you, bullshit, scam you. I see it from a mile away. And that's that street smarts with jail smarts, because you're going to learn a lot in jail. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn survival. You're going to learn, who's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. You learn that quick or you get taken over. There's a lot of victims in jail. There's a lot of guys that are victimized in there. And I'm not talking about sexually. I'm talking about monetarily, emotionally. They'll just get beat up. You're going to either be a victim or you're going to stand your ground. That's what it boils down to. And I guess that still translates in my life 25 years later.
Mm. So for young men who are wanting to mature and to be able to stand their ground and not go to jail, do you have any advice for them?
Not about, I don't know if about standing ground is the right way. Just be a man. Just be a man. All I'm saying is be a man. Open the door for people, be courteous, say thank you once in a while, respect women. I'm the kind of guy, if you're walking down the street with me and I'm the male, I put you towards the inside of the curb. And that comes from years ago. People don't realize that. That comes from when it was horse and buggies and the mud would spit up. The men would save the woman from that. Chivalry's not dead. Just be a man. It's okay to be in touch with your feelings, but I just feel like men should still be men. You know what I mean? I'm old school. You know that. You know that. I'm old school. I'm old school values. This new age, we got wimps. Sorry, I feel like that, but that's who I am. I'm old school. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you got to, put up your fists and fight, but be a man. Stand your ground. You don't have to get confrontational or physical. Be a man. Look somebody in the eye. When you shake their hands, look them in the eye. It starts from there. I don't know how else to say it. There's old school values that have got us through generations and generations. And I don't know. I feel like some of the men today they're too soft. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Let's put some backbone back in. And
I'm just gonna like push back on that a little bit because, I'm curious if you felt that you had that level of a backbone before jail.
yeah, yeah, because my father was a tough man.
Uh-huh.
My father was about respect. One time I think I was 13 or 14, and we were at the pigeon store in Mass. And Frankie Klein, the owner of the store, I walked in and, we were sitting there and it was all a hangout with all the pigeon flyers. It was a great time. You go there and you'd have donuts and this and that. And the guys would talk pigeons. And Frankie Klein, he said, wow, look at you. You're growing up to be a good looking boy. I said, yeah, I know. And I got a smack in the back of the head. I didn't understand. My father said, when somebody compliments you, you say thank you. And it was about just the simplest of respect. My father beat, he smacked me in the back. What are you doing? Like you say thank you. And it's just about respect. I guess we could start there. You know what? Maybe I am a little rough on standing ground, but just mutual respect. And these young guys today, they're just not, I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I'm just not feeling it. You know what I mean? Their work ethic absolutely sucks. I mean, I had a kid work for me outside, got a little cold. He started crying, literally started crying. I was just blown away. To me, I'm like, all right, it's not even that cold, and you're crying. What are you crying about? That's it. You don't work here, go home. Was I rough? Maybe a little bit, but I didn't do him any favors if I let him come and see, you know what I mean? Like the job we had was outside. I'm going to go work outside and you're going to come in here and say, well, it didn't make sense, grow some backbone. We always were tough. And then again, we grew up in Brooklyn. It was a tough borough. You guys are scraps. Maybe you got a black eye and anything. That was it. You know what I mean? You got to fight. You were happy about it. I don't know. It was boys being boys. I don't know where that went. So that's my answer to that one.
Reflecting on, your life now and all that you've been through, what do you think little boys truly need?
there's this saying that I heard a while back, and it said, my great grandfather used to walk to work. My grandfather drove a Ford. My father drove a Cadillac. Because I drive a Mercedes, my son will drive a Ferrari. His son will walk again. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. I just feel like, let's just get back to our roots, to work. You know what I mean? Things are just too easy today. I feel like if they turn around and said to some of these kids today coming out of college that, you know what, you don't have to go and train for this job that potentially AI is going to take from you. You can go into the electrical union, you can go to the ironworkers union, you can go to this union, work with your hands, and you could start off making $60,000, $70,000 a year, not 30, 40,000. I think the kids' ideas would change. We're losing skilled workers. We're at a huge deficit for skilled workers. I mean, who's building the road in 10 years? So I don't know. I feel like just get back, even if you go sit in the garage with your dad and change a oil or something like that, just to kind of get your hands on. I feel like we've lost all hands on. Everything's become too easy, and it's going to make for a weak generation physically. I feel like the kids today are frail. That's just my opinion, I guess, because I was always, a hands-on guy. We went and we did our own thing. We were roofing at 13 years old, my father. You know what I mean? You want to make money, you make money. You want to go buy a bicycle? I was 11 years old. I wanted the Ross 10-speed. My father said, get a job. I did. I delivered groceries. Wasn't abusive. I went and I made my own money. He could have crippled me at that time and got me the bike. He could have easily bought the bike. But I feel like at that point, it would have just been what I wanted after that. I learned the value of the dollar, the value of hard work, and made me who I am. And I just feel like the kids of today just need to, instead of, I don't know, maybe don't ask for it, just get it. Go out and do something and get it. Get a job, even if it's part-time. It'll teach you some work ethic. Work ethic in these times right now is horrible. I just feel that. Sorry, but I feel like some of these guys, even some like just kids in general, they just need to get out. Get out and get a job, even if it's part-time. It'll teach you to make money. You'll stand on your own. A little independence goes a long way. So I know there's a lot of people going to disagree with that, but I'm just old school. I'm so old school and so ingrained in my old school ways that I sometimes find it hard to get out of my own way.
I want to ask something else about that a little bit more, because I feel like in our society today, there's a lot of isolation, especially young adults are living. And certainly it can be very difficult to define who you are in a bubble. You don't interact with other people, and certainly in a healthy way. I mean, I'm not saying you have to go to jail and have these drastic experiences, but even just the value of knowing how to connect to others, knowing how to interact with others can be a life changer in some cases. But I was wondering what you would think about that.
I think social media is the cause of this. I think the internet's the cause of this. I think relationships I think this generation has no idea. I mean, everything's so fake. Let's just call a spade a spade. The internet, you see all these filters and this and that, and you have this idea of what it's supposed to be. I see people on Facebook and on Instagram, and I see this glorious life they put on, and I know you. And I think to myself, I know you. Why are you bullshitting like this? This is not who you are and what's going on in your life. I feel like the days of going to a roller rink, going to a club to get ready to go out, with your friends, you get dressed up and you go to the club. Those were all the greatest times on earth. And there was a human connection. Ironically, these phones that were supposed to connect us have disconnected us because texts, this, that, there's no more just interaction. I'll have friends of mine that text me 3 or 4 texts in a row. And I'll stop. I'm like, I'm not answering. They'll call me. Oh, I was texting you. Yeah, call me. But just like the social interaction it's almost nil. What did these kids have to do? Like when we were growing up, at least at my age, we get on a Friday or Saturday, get all dolled up to go to a club, to go out dancing, just to hang out, to snack, go to a roller rink when we were younger, go to play baseball, that. None of that. This is just none of that anymore. It's just people sitting on phones. It's just that. And I blame that. I blame that as it's causing this whole interaction deficit, for lack of a better word. But it's just a deficit of people connecting with people. It's easier to just get on the phone and at my age, I find myself in the same thing. I'm like, I'd rather sit there and scroll through my phone than sometimes talk to some idiots. So it's crazy. We're at a weird time right now, very weird time. Like I feel like there should be events, just I don't know. But the generation before us, they used to go to these dances and this and that, and those were great times. People knew each other. You knew everybody in your neighborhood. You know what I mean? Today, I don't know. It's just a different world. You know, people through Instagram, more people know me because of my Facebook than anything. Like, what is that? You know, I get it. I'm happy for it. I'm trying to build on it. Listen, I'm going to capitalize on it too because I'm no fool. But where's the social interaction? It's all they all see, you know, the grind and the pigeons and the Cadillacs and this and that, and they see that they don't know the rest of my life and what goes on a daily basis. And what I go through, you know what I mean, the struggles just to make all that happen. It's it's all glorified on the phone.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's really cool about your social media that I really mean this is you're not just showing the finished product. You're not just showing, you posted up with some cars and some cool guys. Like,
That's my whole angle to try and honestly, I've had guys, I'm just talking to a guy 5 minutes before the podcast. He says, bro, you inspired me, this and that and the other thing. And honestly, if I inspire one person, then I'm okay with all that. You know what I mean? Then it's all worth it. You know, there's guys that they look at me and Tatiana, firsthand, they're only seeing me now, 59 years old. If this was 20 years ago, when I go 7 days a week from morning to night, sometimes you guys didn't even see me. You'd be in bed by the time I got home, and God be gone by the time you got up. And it would be like that for 5, 6 days a week. They'd have no idea. I'm trying to show people that, you know what, hard work pays off. That card's been sitting in your garage for 10 years. Get your fat ass off the couch and let's do something with it, you know? And guys are actually inboxing me. Dude, I started working on my car. They're sending me pictures, asking me advice. And maybe that's where my platform's going to go. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the direction it's heading. Then I feel like I've won. You know as well, I'm having a time of my life with this thing. And it's a recognition of my hard work, I guess. You know what I mean?
yeah. For our listeners who don't know, Bob's got, I did the math. I mean, you've got almost 50K followers across all platforms, and he really just posts multiple reels, videos a day of just what he's up to, whether it's driving the car, talking about where he's going, or something he's working on, or hanging out with the dogs, or hanging out with the birds, and it's real. And that's why I'm so happy for you that it's picking up the way that it is, because you're not putting on an image. Like, this is just like your actual life. And I love hearing you talk about that, the hard work pays off, because it has been a long journey for you, and you've been way more stressed in the past, way more caffeinated, like, just
Red Bull.
I mean, yeah, and it's great to see your arc. And I'm sure you've got a lot of wisdom that you get to keep sharing with dudes who are a few steps behind you.
That's all I do at a platform. The grind is real. We could all do it, you know? I'm no better than anybody else. I'm just the guy that says, all right, I'm going to do it instead of talking about it.
Mm.
My father told me when I was just a young kid, there's two kinds of people that talk about it, people that do it. So pick where you're going to be.
Yeah. And a lot of what you've said so far on this podcast episode is like you're very in the physical, the kind of like the black and white of the physical, which is really hard in the age of the internet. It is really hard in a time where you can go and buy followers or get an AI image of yourself and put it out. Like, there's just so much stuff that is not physical right now. And I really appreciate you talking about the importance of physicality, because ultimately it does ground us, right? Even with animals, like you're either taking care of that animal or you're not. Like with pigeon coops, you've taught me, if you don't take care of the coop, they're gonna leave. They don't need to be there. So there's a lot of medicine in that, I think, right now.
Oh yeah, it's my therapy. It's my juice. I tell you, my juice. In a weird way, I feel like it's all coming together. 10 years ago, it was a mess. 20 years ago, it was even crazier. 30 years ago, I was headed back to jail again. You know, or whatever. Not even. What was it? When was I gone? 2000.
25 years ago?
Oh well, no, that was the original. And the couple I did or whatever. But everything's coming full circle and kind of working its way out. I feel like it's actually plans coming together. It was all a big joke when I was playing around on Facebook, playing around on Instagram, but it's not a joke anymore. It's something that, I can do something with, and I can reach people, and I'm having fun doing it. That's the best part. I'm so excited about this YouTube launch party. I can't even breathe. Like all I want to do is I want to get back to working on my shop and get this going and get that going. And, I'm looking forward to it. It's all in my world, in the car world. It's the cats and the owl right now. You know what I mean? They're all talking about this party that's going to be, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm having a great time with it, and we'll see what happens. The best part is, if it doesn't take off, I could still go back to work, which I've been doing all the while. I like to be a guy that has a backup plan.
Yeah.
I have one dump truck left in the yard. I had four running at one time. I was running dump trucks, and the insurance went crazy, this, that, and the other. It was like, why don't you sell that thing? Get rid of it. Because God forbid something goes bad and the whole place goes down. I need to jump in that truck and make an honest living and a good living. So I'll never get rid of the truck. They may have to bury me in that truck. I always want a backup plan. I always want an alternate way to get out. So that's it.
I wanted to also just ask about creativity because, you mentioned it a while ago in this conversation about like there's artistry to what you're doing. And when you're talking about young men and they're seeming weak and they don't have work ethic, I also think it's a time where we're just also so aware of how many people are out there doing things. It's not like, hey, I live in a village and I can provide for my village. It's like you're in this big soup and it can feel intimidating to be like, who am I to bring something in? So I'm curious what you have to say about creativity and passion.
Believe in yourself. When nobody else believes you, believe in yourself. Just believe. There's no other way to say it, Yum. Just believe in yourself. Well, everybody should know your nickname for you is Yummy. I keep calling you Yum. Nobody knows it. But believe in yourself. That's all I can say. Because you know what? In the end, I don't know the answer no. I believe no matter what I put my head to, I can do it. And I'm no better than anybody else. I'm no better than the next guy. I believe what I want to do. I believe it. And they say fake it till you make it. Just believe you're going to make it. That's it. And one way or another, firsthand experience. There was a lot of ups and downs. There's times I should have gave up. There's times that could barely make the bills. But I always believed in myself. Your mother used to shake when I buy a new tow truck, and she'd convulse. Well, what's he doing? And I believed in myself. And I built the business from a $1,200 tow truck. I built this from. Do you realize that? I had one little tow truck that I ran around screaming at. I believed in myself. We wrote on the side of the car with magic marker. We put the name of the company on. Do you remember that? I mean,
Wow, I forgot.
in the school, I had, Mom, you got to write the name, cash for junk cars and this and that. And I believed in myself. I believed that this is what I wanted to do. And I know there's times in the beginning when she was shaking. What is he doing? What's going on? Got a mortgage to pay, got a bill. Don't worry about it. I'll get it. We figured it out. Believe in yourself is the easiest way to say it. And it's my inspiration to anybody. If you think you can do it, you're right. If you think you can't do it, you're right. Pick your choice. I don't know the answer, no. And failure is not an option. So I got to go with what I know. And it's, like you said, it's been a long journey. It's just 20 years I'm here. 20 years I'm doing this. I can't tell you how many cars I've gone through. I can't tell you how many times I thought about giving up. I can't tell you how many times I couldn't make the rent. But here we are, and hard work pays off. That's all there is to it. Believe in yourself and just keep going. It's the bottom line. If I had anything to say to the younger generation, believe in yourself. Everything can be intimidating. When you look at a pile of rocks, it looks absolutely intimidating until you put the first shovel in. If you think about how big that pile is, you'll never, ever start it. You put the shovel in the pile, put it in the wheelbarrow, and just go. Believe that pile will diminish, and it does, and you'll get rid of the pile. Mm-hmm. So that's my advice. Just believe in yourself, and if you have a passion for something, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Because I had not only, let's face it, after I got out of jail, I was supposed to be working with cars. I had everything against me. I was on probation. My probation officer, you can't work with cars. This and that and the other thing. I wasn't allowed. What I do, I believed in myself, and I did what I had to do. I mean,
what did I do? I just didn't listen to him. I just had to do it.
I listen. I had a passion. That's what it was. Like passion. I went right after I got out. I went to work on a roofing company. I went to work with a roofing company. I was absolutely miserable. I couldn't stand myself. And when I came home, I tell your mother, I bought a tow truck. What'd you do? I bought a tow truck. I can't do this anymore. I can't do the roof. And I bought it. When I wrote the check for that first tow truck, We had, I want to say, $2,000 in the account. The tow truck was $1,200. The insurance was $800. The registration was $700. The insurance check and the registration check were bum. There was no money to cover it. Your mother, she was shaking. I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And I covered those checks and I covered the rent. We hadn't moved to the house yet. Then we got the house. I just believed I could do it. I was going knocking at doors. You want to jump that car? You want to? I just believed I could do it. I started from the ground. I mean, listen, I'm no empire, but I got a pretty nice little castle here. That's believing in myself. You got to believe in yourself and your passion, whatever it is, just go for it. Just go for it. If you listen, a lot of us have to work at jobs we don't like. I feel sorry for people like that. If you can find something you like, I don't care if you got to start at the bottom and you're just getting by, stick with it because it'll eventually pay off. Your passion will always outweigh all the other bullshit. So at least for me, it is. My word, just believe that's it. Those are my words for young males today. Believe in yourself, and if you love it and you want to do it, just do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't. So that's my inspirational quote for the day.
You know, Bob, I want to expand on something since you briefly mentioned your relationship, with Tatiana's mom, and you talked about how challenging it was for her to you take these risks that ultimately were impacting the family as a whole. But what do you think is helpful for women to understand about men that love work like you do?
The way I see it like this, I felt like I was building something for us. Tatiana's mom was very supportive. She was always very supportive. There was tons of vacations they went on that I couldn't go on because I had a tow business and I was running the phones. Just support your man. If he's doing it for you guys and he's trying to build something, be supportive. And it doesn't just mean sitting there with a banner and a flag. It means, if you're at the shop working late at night, bring them down a coffee. Just show them you're interested. Whether you are or not, just make them feel like, and every once in a while, a pat on the back goes a long way. And Tatiana's mom she was good with that. She was real good with that. You know what I mean? It was the hours, it was the the constantly going on vacation and this and that. And they would always go places I couldn't go. I just didn't have the time. I couldn't. I was trying to build the business. Tatiana's mom, she never really picked on me much, but there was tension. Of course, it fractured the relationship somewhat because my work ethic was just insane. I mean, I would come home from work, grab something to eat quick and run out and head in a tow truck and head to Massachusetts or something like that at night, come back the next morning. She was pretty much living alone because I was out on the road or at the shop, and just be supportive of me, man. That's all I could say to her, and try to work with him. Figure it out. If it means wherever he's working, you stop by and just say hello or something like that, that goes a long way to me. I don't know. And Tatiana's mom did that a lot. She'd bring me down coffee, this, that, and the other thing. Well, I just feel like a woman that's with a man that's trying to build something, just be supportive of him. Give him that pat on the back once in a while because we are egotistical monsters. That's all. At least I am. You know what I mean? I like to hear when somebody asked me what I was going to be playing on my TVs in the place. I said, once we get the YouTube going, I says, I'm going to just keep running all the YouTubes I do. So aren't you going to get tired of listening to you? Oh, shit, that's you we're talking about. Yeah, I'm not going to get tired of listening to myself. We are egotistical monsters, and every once in a while, a little back pat doesn't hurt. So that's my advice to the ladies.
So occasionally there would probably need to be a balance potentially, because I think, some women would hear this and say, well, he's just prioritizing his work or his passion over me, over the relationship. Is it possible to have a balance, or maybe some men just can't?
Again, I'm the wrong guy to answer that. I don't know balance. And it's cost me not only with Tatiana's mom, with a relationship after that, and a relationship prior to that, my first life, my work ethic definitely caused. So I'm an anomaly. I don't say that with pride or anything like that. I mean, I just know who I am. I'm not relationship material. That's what I boil down to. That's what I've learned in my life. I get too caught up in my passion. It should there be? Do I regrets? Yeah, I have regrets as far as that. But can I change? Not at 59 years old. I don't see it. You know what I mean? I am. What does Popeye say? I am what I am. I'm in this way. I'm okay where I am in life, and it definitely costs some relationships. But should there be balance? 100%. Do I know how to do it? I'm the wrong guy to ask that. You know what I mean? That's being honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just not that guy. I'm okay to be alone. I love what I do. I got my dogs, I got my rabbit. So we're going to talk about the rabbit, and I got my pigeons. And that's it.
Got Richie.
I'm Uncle Richie, yeah. And that's it. So yeah, they should be balanced, but I don't know how to do it. Again, my addicted personality. It's just who I am. When I get on mindset on something, it's just tunnel vision. And it's not good for relationships. So, again, I say it again, I'm just not the guy, I mean, I am what I am.
Well, again, I think you consistently speak to a very physical, practical reality where, someone who's running for the president of the United States, are they really going to have a lot of balance in their life? Probably not, right? Somebody who's building some new technology, someone who's making big murals all the time around the world. Like there is a certain level of passion and fixation and climbing. But yeah, I mean, if you are going to be with someone like that, you got to know or know. And I appreciate you saying like, I'm building this for us. Like there's a dream for us. Like, I want to provide for us in all of that. If it was just like, hey, I'm really passionate about toy cars, leave me alone. I'm downstairs in my toy cars. Different thing than like
For a future, right? Of course. Of course.
so I appreciate hearing that because I think women can feel like they're being ignored or they don't matter or whatever, but you're kind of just bringing in a certain reality of like, hey, if you're going to sign up for a guy who's building something huge and really, really passionate about it, just understand that, support him. And yeah,
There's plenty of people that go through life, and I would go to the train and I would drop my ex-girlfriend off way before you and your mom were, me and your mom were involved. I used to drop her off the train in Farmingdale every day. I drop her off at 7:45 and watch these guys and these ladies walk onto the train like drones. And then I'd pick her up at, 5:30, and they'd walk off in the same drone. So you could see depleted energy on their face, and it used to make me so sad. Like, how do you just go on this sardine carrier into the city, and the sardine carrier brings you back, and you could just see, like in the morning, they had a little spark, and not a big one. Fridays, they had spark. Friday afternoon, you could see the spark. I always said to myself, I could never do that. Like, it's just this robotic existence. So is that balance? I don't know. Is that balance? You know what I mean? Like that you're so miserable 5 days a week. You're giving up 40 hours, more than that, 60, 80 hours of your life every week to go transport back and forth to enjoy 2 days. And I don't know, that to me that's like you're giving up 70% of your life to enjoy 30%. It didn't make sense to me. But again, because I have my passion for my work, I'm not really the guy to ask that question because my answer's always going to leave somebody hurt. When Spring's mom asked me, it's either me or the business, she didn't get the answer she wanted. It was at that time I was growing Uncle Bobby's. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I guess I'm just not the right guy for that question. And I guess now, a little older, I start to realize that I used to blame the whole world. Like, oh, you're not with me, you can't. It's somebody's fault. It's not my fault. It's not a fault. It's just who I am.
Bob, I'm curious what you might say to fathers who want to try to find a balance between obviously following their passion, but also serving as a good role model for their sons.
Bring them to work. My dad was a roofer, and my dad, like I said, he wasn't that he was a bad dad, but if we were flying pigeons with him, at the greatest of times. Like we all got involved in the coops. My older brother right in, but me and Richie did. And we had great times. My father was a coop. I wish I had a son. I mean, and it's crazy. But then again, it's probably a blessing that I didn't have a son, that I had Tatiana and my daughter. I think I would have been too hard on my son. I think I definitely would have. I would have wanted him to come, and if he didn't have a passion like I did, it would have just destroyed me. For the guys that are dads, and if you can spend time with your son, not only with just what you like, but do something he likes too, and create a balance in that. You know what I mean? Give and take. Maybe your son doesn't like guys that are in construction. He's not into construction, but bring him on a couple of jobs. Let him get his hands dirty. Let him, you know what I mean? Learn to swing a hammer. When your son wants to go kayaking or something like that, get in the goddamn kayak with him. You know what I mean? So yeah, there should be a balance for that. Like I said, I feel like God he gave me a message by not giving me a son because I might have been too tough on him. I mean, I was tough with Tatiana, and I'm sure she'll tell you at times I was tough. You know what I mean? I thought things should be done a certain way. I'm not saying I was right. I was probably wrong, but they should have been done a certain way. And if you didn't do them that way, then obviously you're doing them the wrong way in my eyes. You know what I mean? So that's a good question. Hey, you should have balance for your son, especially a man to a son. You know what I mean? Because a woman with a daughter, they have that balance. You know what I mean? That's easily established, I believe. No, I think it's easier than with a man and his son today because of all the distractions too with the internet and all the, these kids think they want to be gamers and they're going to make a living. I have a friend of mine, his son, he's done nothing. The kid's 30 years old. He wants to be a professional gamer. He's been to 2 tournaments. He won a total of $12,000 since he's out of high school. What are we doing? I mean, at what point do you say to the kid, it's not working, go get a job? But he lets him sit in the basement and play his games. So I don't know. To me, that's way off balance. But I guess you got to find your happy medium.
It's a weird time. And I think a lot of this conversation is just pointed to you're coming from an older world and we're in this newer world. And it just brings a lot of different questions. What is balance in this world? And I appreciate, like I've already said, the physicality. Because honestly, I've thought about it. Like if mom just raised me, there's certain things I probably would be more sensitive. Might be less practical in certain ways. And it's good. It's good to have that 3D. Like the 3D isn't really going anywhere. Even though it might seem that way sometimes. I appreciate you also just being like, I don't really know. I'm not the one. I would have been so hard on my son. So like,
oh yeah, 100%. You know that. I mean, look at my poor nephew. The kid shakes when he leaves with me after a month. He shakes. He's like, oh God, I got to go back. Yeah. I guess, like you said, you hit it on the head. I'm old school. I have, that old school mentality. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Can I change him? I don't think so. I'm pretty stuck in my ways. And at this point, not to be like that, but I don't want to change either. I'm okay. It's got me where I am in life. My values, my work ethic, this and that, my no bullshit kind of stance. It's got me where I am in life, and I'm okay with it. A lot of hard work. I believe it's paid off. I say it all the time. If I die tonight, don't cry in my wake, raise a glass, because I had the time of my life. I did what I wanted to do. There's not many people could say that. I did what I wanted to do, and there was a lot of ups and downs. But like I say again, just believe in yourself. And if you want something, go after it. That's all there is to it. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? Go after it with a passion. If you go half-assed, you're not going nowhere. That's my story.
It's a beautiful story, Bob. I'm so happy to have heard this perspective. We haven't had anyone like you on the podcast so far. Very much salt of the earth, and I'll tell it like it is. And you certainly have had probably the most challenging, life of any of the men that we've spoken with. So it's really been a pleasure to hear how you allowed it to transform you. It's inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate everything that we're so honest about today. It's really something I really value in who you are, and just thanks for trusting me to come on this. I know this isn't your normal rodeo either.
That's all right. Gave me a good chance to figure out how to do this. When I get some of the gangsters on my podcast. No, I'm joking.
No, it's good. I agree.
It'll all work out, right?
I agree.
That's it.
So yeah, he's launching YouTube in a week from this recording. He's The Grind at Caddy Coop. And he's got a huge following on Facebook mainly, but he's on TikTok and Instagram too. And, the grind is real. If you hear that out here in Long Island, they're talking about Bob.
That's it. You got to tell them too. When people say I got a guy, they're just talking about me. I'm just saying. I don't like to brag, but here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you again, Bob, for showing up. Thank you, Aurelia. We'll catch you next time.
That's it. How do I hang up now?
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, we'd love your support. please take a moment to rate and review the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if our energy resonates with you and you're feeling called to connect or work with us, you'll find all the details in the show notes below. Thank you again for being part of this journey with us.